As things progress, the deeper the rabbit hole goes with Mr. Eric Williams, social worker who works out of Teaneck, New Jersey. One of the things I had brought up is the softball team and whether or not he actually had a kid on that team. And it occurred to me, well, if he has a kid on the team, that would mean that means he lives in my town. The kid is in my daughter's school. So with my research, and it's not that hard to do, I got some more answers to see how deep this rabbit hole goes. What you're looking at is a Google Street View of my house. That's where my daughter is, where I'm from. That's my house. So I did a search for property owned by Mr. Williams, and lo and behold, it came back. Let's see where Mr. Williams lives in relation to my daughter. My house. Let's zoom out, shall we? My house. His house. My house. His house. You could drive a golf ball from my front yard to his backyard. But is that all? Is that the only thing about where Mr. Eric K. Williams, social worker who recruits children off the Woodridge sports fields, is that the only thing about where he is, where he lives? Let's see. Woodridge sports field, Mr. Williams, my daughter. The social worker who likes to recruit children off his softball team, off these diamonds, lives right across the street from it. Lives maybe 500 yards from these people, clients he's treating. Oh, and what's this building, you might ask? Oh, well, you see, that's the Woodridge High School. Prime picking location for a social worker, don't you think? I'm sure it's all coincidental. Right, Eric? Sure, all this is explainable. I'm sure you're going to be able to explain all of this to the ethics committee. And you might be asking, well, if you sit with the ethics committee, well, why? Well, because you got to do it by, I had to download a form, you got to write out this thing, you got to mail it up. It takes some time. But I thought it important enough to let people know that there is a social worker who has a person, has a child who is on their softball team, who they've been treating now for 3 years, who the father has been trying to get in contact with you for 3 years. Hasn't been a secret. My numbers haven't changed. Haven't been able to talk to my daughter the whole time, other than maybe 5 times, under your treatment. And then what happens with the other 3 videos are there. You try to charge me $150 to find out information you're legally required to give me as the father without any restrictions on its custody. Nothing. And it turns out not only do you live in my town, but you live at the end of the block. You live not 500 yards, maybe 1,000 from where my daughter sleeps. Right across the street from the field you were coaching on where you apparently met my daughter. Still not sure if you have a kid or not. That's why I'm not giving out your address. Because if you do, it's not fair to her. Her father's a fucking asshole, scumbag, sociopath who preys on the weak and causes longer problems. So you're going to have to explain, Eric, why I'm not in the picture and you knew about me and you spoke about me. You're going to have to explain how an 11-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-old can go that many years with barely any contact from her father, who's been calling, and you're not getting to the root, and you have no answers without $150. I mean, if I had $150, because we already saw the text message, I mean, you can't deny any of that. Obviously, I mean, you did what you did here. But then to find out you live at the end of the road. You knew about my YouTube channel. You knew about this channel. Didn't inquire about it. Didn't look into it. My daughter has these problems and you have no answers. I'm her father. You don't think I would be a decent resource if you're really trying to help her? How do you explain any of that? How do you explain me calling and you not calling me back and you giving me the runaround? How do you explain an 11-year-old going on 12 at the end of this month who's barely had any contact with her father? And what has been going on for 3 years? Unless you've been told something about me, you think something about me that isn't true, but you've never asked. So you've never gotten any my perspective, what's going on with me, what. So how could you possibly be helping my daughter? Even if you think I'm completely full of shit, you need to at least do your due diligence and find out and talk to me. But it appears you're making assumptions. If best case scenario, you're just incompetently immoral and really trying to help her, you're making assumptions based on one side or without getting the other perspective, even though the other perspective has been readily available to you since July of 2012. So I don't know where you go with this. And you know, the whole runaround I got with whether or not you're a doctor or a social worker, like, you know what you did. You know what you did with that, Eric. You pull up your Google Plus page, it says doctor under your name. Doctor. MSV as whatever those letters are. Most people see a bunch of letters, they think it's something official, and then they see doctor underneath it. Doctor. But when you go on your Google page, the doctor is actually a link. Now, it doesn't say link to doctors, it just says the word doctor. And it's a live link to actual doctors. And it shows your Google maps where you're located, right next to Holy Name Hospital, like a doctor would. So if somebody's looking for therapy, okay, and they click on your page and they see doctor, why would you need a doctor's link on your page for other doctors? They're looking for help, assuming, I would imagine a good portion of them, that you're some sort of doctor. And I know it's just a link to doctor, but it doesn't say that. It should say link to doctors, not Eric K. Williams, MS whatever, doctor, next to a hospital on Google Map. Very strategic. Very strategic, your Google Plus page. Not that you've done much on it, but Google's your worst enemy, bud. Because all that was I showed where you live is Google Maps. So you have a social worker practice, I would assume under the guise of being a doctor, because anybody who would pull up that link, and I'll put the link in the description box so you can view it for yourselves, would think you're a doctor. Based on where you're located, it's saying doctor, the fancy letters. I mean, does the average person know MSV? No. No. And you couple that with my story, how I'm saying you got my daughter off a Little League diamond, and I come to find out, not only do you live in my town, you live at the end of my block, and you live across the street from the very same athletic complex where my daughter's playing on, and a lot of kids are playing on, and the high school. All seems very, very sketchy, to say the least. It's very sketchy. But putting it what I think it is, it's downright despicable what you're doing. Downright despicable. I will continue to expose you, Eric, until I get justice. I may not be able to get it through family court, but I am sure as shit not going to let some shady social worker, I guess, contribute to the pain that I've already had to endure through this entire situation. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. So everybody, that's part 4 of this update. I told you, therapists, social workers, whatever they are, in it for the money. And you may not like it, Eric, but you better learn to love it, because this is how it's going to be. It's I Matthews. See you all again real soon. Take care.